We are right at the dawn of what's being called the agentic era. This is where AI stops being just a tool and starts becoming, well, an autonomous partner. And that brings up a huge question. How in the world do we build trust in an AI that can literally think for itself? So let's break that down step by step.
Okay, so imagine you ask an AI agent, hey, plan my trip to Tokyo. Sounds simple enough, right? But behind the scenes, that agent is making dozens, maybe hundreds of decisions. How can we be sure it's not taking some bizarre, scenic route through its own logic, leaving you with a terrible itinerary and a much lighter bank account? This unpredictability, that is the core challenge here.
And that unpredictability is there because these new AI agents are a completely different beast. The old rules we used for software quality, they don't apply anymore, which means we need a whole new playbook.
Now check out this analogy because it absolutely nails it. Traditional software is kind of like a delivery truck on a fixed route. You just check if it followed the map. Pretty simple. But an AI agent, that's an F1 race car. It's making split-second judgments in a constantly changing environment. You can't just check if it crossed the finish line. You need telemetry on every single decision it makes along the way.
So, what this all boils down to is a massive shift in how we think. We're moving from just verification, asking, did our delivery truck follow the map, to validation. We have to ask a much, much deeper question. Did we build the right product? Are we building a winning F1 car that makes trustworthy judgments, even when the path forward isn't totally clear? And look, the risks of getting this wrong, they are very real. We're not talking about simple bugs here. We're talking about things like factual hallucinations, where the AI just confidently makes stuff up, or these emergent behaviors, where it finds clever loopholes you never ever intended. You can't just run a standard debugger to fix a flaw in an AI's judgment. So, okay, if the old scorecard is useless, what does the new one even look like? How do we redefine what a good AI agent is? Well, it requires a brand new framework.
And this new foundation is built on 4 pillars. You've got effectiveness, efficiency, robustness, and the incredibly important safety and alignment. Every single one is absolutely essential if we're going to build trust.
First up, effectiveness. This is the bottom line, right? Did the agent actually solve the user's real problem? Not just did it run the code, but did that code actually get me the answer I was looking for? It's all about hitting the user's true intent.
Next up is efficiency. Think about it. An agent that takes 25 steps and makes 3 wrong turns just to book a simple flight, that's a low-quality agent, even if it gets there in the end. We have to measure the cost in tokens, which is basically computational effort, in time, and in the sheer number of steps it took.
Then you've got robustness. The real world is messy. APIs fail. Users type in confusing things. A robust agent doesn't just crash and burn. No, it fails gracefully. It asks for clarification. It handles the messy reality with something that looks a lot like common sense.
And finally, maybe the most critical pillar of all, safety and alignment. This is the non-negotiable gatekeeper. Does the agent stay within ethical lines? Does it know to refuse harmful requests? This, right here, is the absolute foundation of trust.
Okay, so you can't measure any of those pillars by just looking at the final result. It's not enough. You have to get under the hood and judge the entire decision-making process from start to finish.
And this brings us to what's really the core mantra for evaluating these AI agents. The trajectory is the truth. The quality isn't just in the destination, it's in the entire journey the agent took to get there.
To really evaluate that journey, we have to change a whole perspective. We need to move from what you could call a black box view, where you only see the final answer and you know what went wrong, to a glass box view. This means seeing every thought, every tool it used, every observation, so we can actually understand why it went wrong.
But how do you get that glass box view? How do we actually see inside the agent's mind? Well, it requires a technical foundation that we call observability.
Here's another great way to think about it. An agent is like a gourmet chef in one of those mystery box competitions. A food critic doesn't just taste the final dish right, they want to know why the chef paired certain ingredients, what techniques they used. To really judge quality, you have to observe the entire creative process.
And that creative process is made visible through 3 technical pillars. First, you have logs, which are like the agent's diary, recording every single thing that happens. Second, you have traces, which act like the narrative thread, connecting all those diary entries into a story you can actually follow. And finally, metrics, which pull all that data together into a high-level health report.
So we've got the pillars of quality, we've got the tools to observe them. The final piece of the puzzle is putting it all together into a system that actually builds trust over time. And that system is called the quality flywheel.
The flywheel is basically a continuous loop. You start by defining quality using those 4 pillars we talked about. Then you instrument your agent so you can actually see what it's doing. Next, you evaluate the whole process using both AI and human judges. And this part is crucial. You architect a feedback loop, so every single failure automatically becomes a new test case, making the whole system smarter. Each cycle just adds more momentum, building this awesome virtuous cycle of quality.
So if we distill everything we've just talked about, it really comes down to 3 core principles for building trustworthy AI.
First, evaluation isn't something you tack on at the end. It has to be built into the architecture from day one. Second, always remember that the final answer is only part of the story. The trajectory is the truth. And third, while AI can definitely help us scale up evaluation, the human is, and really must remain, the ultimate decider of what good actually means.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We're getting incredibly good at building capable AI. But as these systems get more and more autonomous, maybe the real frontier, the ultimate challenge, isn't just about capability anymore. Maybe it's all about building trust.